Okay, so this is our scene file, and what I've brought in here is the mothership's model, mainly the static center, the RBD top half, as well as the RBD's bottom half. Right, so each of these components has its own UV. We can check from set view, UV viewport. Yep. And let's just change this back to perspective. And I've also brought in two of these cameras. One is the main camera with a full 2K resolution, and then the other one with 1K. So why did I do this is to allow me to render quickly, to just look at my shading without having to load in a full 2K render, which will take a bit more time. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to create a white HDRI. So we can go up to our tab. So if you cannot find these two Arno tab, you can come here to this plus under shelf and you just switch these both on, and then they will show up here instantly. So you can come here to Sky Dome, you hold down Control, left click, it will create a Sky Dome from where your camera perceives it from. So you can move this here. So if we move this out of the way, you can see that it's here. We want this to be at the center so that it's a lot easier for us to track. 0, 0, 0. And then you rotate, we'll just bring it back to 0. Okay, so now it's at the center of world space. And we will drag our camera back here. Okay, so this gizmo, this icon can be a little bit annoying at times. So to switch it off, you can come to viewport. Under display, you can switch it off here like that. Yeah, and let's just call this HDRI. Okay, and we just bring this up a notch so that we can see what we are doing when we render our shader. So I'm gonna put this as white for now so that I can clearly see, what my shaders are doing. So next, I want to create a rock net. A rock net is basically the same as out, except it's all being kept here so that I can go between my nodes quickly without having to jump through my tabs later on. I can put this as render. I'll go in and I'll put down an Arno renderer. Can call this mothership render. And I'll just change this to frame range and change my camera to half res. Yep. Next, I will create a shop net. So the shop net, likewise, is the same as the shop net here, which is where we build our shaders from. So I'll call these shaders. I'll go in, and first thing I'll do is to create our standard surface shader for our spaceship's body. So to do that, I will have to put down a Arno network and call this mothership. And go in, and immediately you will see a material output. So what this material output is the connection point between what we've built for our shader to our model. So anything will have to end with this out material. So to put down a material shader, we have to go through standard surface and just put this down. So this is the same as Maya. If you use Maya Arno before, the standard surface gives the same property as what you see in Arno, in Maya Arno. Okay, so we can test this out by coming out here, going to mothership geo, and applying our material right here. We can put this here and direct it to our mothership model, mothership shader, and accept. So if I were to go to our render view now, and it will automatically load in what we've created for our rock network, and we change our camera to half res, If we do a render now, you'll immediately see that there's this shade of pink. However, on the body that we've set our material to is casting white, which is what we want. So this means that the whatever shader we'll be building on later on will definitely work. What this pink means is that a shader has not been applied to that model yet. So one quick way to fix that is, of course, to apply our material. So I'll do that for the top and the bottom. Set, and we'll stop the render and re-render. Right, so now you see that everything is casted white. So that means everything is working fine. So next, we will bring in our image. So fortunately for us, this model comes with a albedo map, specular map, as well as a bump map. So we'll be applying those three maps directly into our standard surface. So let's call this standard surface our mothership body. So the quickest way to bring in an textured image is through the image node. So we can come in here and put down an image node. Okay. So under image node, under file name, I will bring in our asset. Go to our diffuse, accept, and we'll plug this into our base color and call this diffuse. So if we test render now, we can see that it directly applies onto our whole model. So let's just do that for the rest of the nodes. We have specular. Go find specular. And I'll apply these to specular roughness. And also a bump map. I'll call this bump. And so for bump map, it's a little different. Right, so instead of just applying it directly like what we did with our specular and diffuse, for bump map we have to put down a bump 2D and we just apply this to our bump map and then this to our normal. So you will essentially turn this into a normal map. We need to stop this render, we'll take a screenshot and then we will render again. Okay, so that's working. Alright, so I do feel that this white background is a little distracting, and what's causing this white background is the HDRI, because we've chosen white. So to switch off this background, we come down to contribution, and under camera we just switch it off, and then it will go away. So for this Arnold renderer, changing lights will result in a real-time update. However, changing models as well as changing shaders will require you to re-render. So when we come down to our shader again, so this is what we have now. Shift S, and let's pull this further. So for us to check whether our texture is working well, or let's say the diffuse is being wonky, one way to check it, one way to troubleshoot it is to directly plug our RGBA right into our surface. So this way, you'll only see the diffuse map. Same goes for any other maps that you want to test. So let's say specular, and then you'll see our specular map. Okay, so now I do feel that let's say these spaceships diffuse, it feels very clean right now. One way we can add some variation to it is through a noise node. So in this particular case, I will use cell noise and I'll multiply it onto our texture, which is the diffuse. So to do that, I will introduce a cell noise node. Okay, and I will use a multiply. So for now, I will just directly show through the out material without going through the standard surface so that I can see what's going on when I'm working with all this stuff. So I'll just bring down this, bring it in, and let's see, I'll do a render now. Okay, so now I don't see a difference because I have not tweaked the cell noise. So what I normally would do is use cell 1 or cell 2 pattern. But of course, any of these would be nice. Woolies are not too bad too. So I'll bring this. Cell 1. Yeah, I bring this up to 3. Our luminosity, maybe we can go with something like that. This randomness is how random our noise will look. And yeah, of course, the amplitude is how bright it is. I'll just maybe bring it up a bit. Something like that too. And for density is how much noise is affecting our texture. So I don't need to overkill what we have here. So I'll put it at 6.4. And of course, I'll change this to pref, and I will let our res position be available. Reason being, if we do not put it to pref, when the ship move, the shape of our noise will stay in camera space. So basically, you'll see the noise swimming through our ship. So this is very important so that the noise, whatever noise we've created, will be stuck onto our UV. So no matter where the ship go, the noise stays. Okay, this looks fine. So I will go with this noise pattern. Okay, I'll plug our shader back into our surface and I'll multiply to our RGB again. So of course, if I change the diffuse, my specular will have to update as well. So to do that, I'll just copy this, multiply here, and just plug back my RGBA into my multiply again. So I'll just do a re-render. I'll stop this. Yeah. Okay, so this looks alright. Take a snapshot. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is tweak our standard surface itself so that we can have a more realistic output of our shader. So everything here can be tweaked, of course. The main thing that I want to tweak right now is the specular and the base. So for the base, I'll just bring it to the top. I'll do a render here. For matterness, I will put it to 0.5. Okay. And for my specular, I'll just bring it down a notch. Maybe 6.6. And yeah, we can test this for now and see what we get. Yeah, okay, so now you can see that the base texture, the diffuse noise is showing through now a bit more. It's cracking here and there. And yeah, we can work with this. So with that said, we've done the the most basic setup for our mothership's body. The next thing we will do is to create the shader for our emissive so that we can control it independently away from what we've built here, so that it does not affect whatever we've been setting up for our mothership's body. And with that said, yeah, let's move on to our emissive then.